This is the Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral.com.
Good evening, afternoon, Tuscaloosa, Internet world, West Alabama. How we doing today on this Thursday? This is part 2. We appreciate everybody who's jumping in and joining us on the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central and BamaCentral.com. I, of course, am Joe Gaither. You are the listener or the viewer watching us on the Bama Central YouTube channel at Bama Central, or you're watching us on my own social media machine at Joe Gaither 6 on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. You can connect with me on your favorite social media platform at Joe Gaither 6, or you can find the show on your favorite podcast platform, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or on Amazon, the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central. We appreciate everybody who subscribed, rated, reviewed the show. What are we going to do here? We've already talked for about a half an hour, 45 minutes today on a Thursday, but we owe you a double episode because we missed you on a Monday. Apologize about that, and it is a huge week. It's a huge week. It's the third Saturday in October. It is that game that all of you all circled before the season. You said, oh, my gosh, Alabama's going to go up to Knoxville and have a really, really challenging time. So we are going to talk specifically on this episode, the Part 2 episode on Thursday, about Alabama and Tennessee football. Oh, my mercy. Are you excited for the third Saturday in October? What does it mean to you? We'll go full transparency mode and let you know that it means a lot to me, given that I am from Chattanooga, Tennessee. Growing up in the 90s in Chattanooga, it was Tennessee country. And I know a lot of you guys care a lot about the Auburn rivalry. Maybe LSU rivalry is your favorite flavor. But for me, nothing touches Alabama and Tennessee. Yes, I know Auburn and the Iron Bowl, it is a big rivalry. But for me personally, it is the biggest rivalry on the Alabama calendar. And so we will treat it as such, trying to give you an in-depth look at the Tennessee Vols on the program today. We want to thank, before we get going, Derek Daniel for sponsoring the program. Derek Daniel right here at State Farm in Northport. We are in the Derek Daniel studios right off of McFarland Boulevard. You can come visit him right past the Tiger Rock on the left. You can call him, Red Reese in Victoria. His teammates will be happy to take care of you. It's 205-758-3391 for all of your insurance needs. Like a good neighbor, Derek Daniel and State Farm is there. Call and see how much Derek can save you today. We appreciate Derek for putting us on each and every day. Let's talk Tennessee Vols. Look, as we said, July, May, June, in the offseason, you wrote up the Alabama schedule and you thought, oh my gosh, going up to Knoxville, this is going to be a bear. And that absolutely still will be a huge challenge. The Crimson Tide right now, as of Thursday mid-afternoon, the Crimson Tide are a 3-point favorite for their road trip to Knoxville. And if you remember the scenes in Neyland Stadium 2 years ago, it was absolute pandemonium. 17, 18 penalties for Alabama, including the horrific pass interference penalty in the end zone, the late call. Now, I argue that maybe the call was correct, but the timing and the official who threw the flag, both incorrect and kind of questionable. And so Alabama coming up on the short end of the stick. You have the kicker with the ugly duck kick, and then they tear down the goalpost and throw them in the Tennessee River and party all night long. So now you got to go back into that seventh ring of hell that is Neyland Stadium, the garbage workers convention, right? And it's going to be absolutely electric on Saturday at 2:30, I believe. It'll be right there on ABC or ESPN. I don't know exactly the time. I should have pulled that up. Here we go. College football. Let's make sure before we lie to all the people what channel it's on. Alabama is playing Tennessee at 2:30 on Saturday on ABC. So you can find that on your local cable. If you are not a premium cable subscriber, it will be on your local channels on ABC. I guess that's right here in our area on 3340. It's going to be a lot of fun, but you've got two teams that are practically mirror images of one another. You look at Alabama, 5-1. You look at Tennessee, 5-1, 2-1 in the conference for both teams. Both teams beating, Florida. Tennessee has beaten Florida and has beaten Florida and has beaten not South Carolina. Who do they? Oklahoma on the road. Yes, beat Oklahoma on the road to open the SEC schedule. Lost to Arkansas. Bad loss. Bad loss. Lost to Arkansas and then lost at home, and then beat, Florida at home in a very struggle win fashion. Does that sound familiar? You go on the road for a big win, you lose on the road, and then you win on the road in struggle fashion. Alabama winning here in Tuscaloosa against Georgia, obviously holding on to that win, coming back to that win, losing on the road to an inferior opponent, the Vanderbilt Commodores, and then winning. So used to saying that, winning against the South Carolina Gamecocks in struggle win fashion. So both Tennessee and Alabama coming off struggle wins against teams that probably shouldn't have been on the field with them. Yeah, I think South Carolina is better than Florida, but neither South Carolina nor Florida should have been on the field with Alabama or Tennessee last weekend, and both of them were. Obviously, Tennessee going into overtime against the Florida Gators, winning in overtime. But both teams are in the same boat. Both teams have lost a game they shouldn't have lost. Both teams expected to be in the college football playoff picture, and still are going into the matchup. Both teams expected to be in the SEC championship picture, and they still are. But goodness gracious, the loser is really going to be behind the eight ball. That's what my next note is. So the winner is going to move to 3-1 in SEC play, and Alabama still has challenging games on the schedule against LSU, Missouri, against Auburn in the SEC's got, and you got to go out to Oklahoma. Tennessee's got Vanderbilt. Tennessee, I think, has Kentucky as well. So they've got a meaty rest of their schedule. I believe they have Georgia on their schedule also. So this becomes a kind of a must-win game because. Is Tennessee going to beat Georgia? Probably not. Maybe, but probably not. Tennessee's going to need some help if they want to be in the SEC championship game in Atlanta. And really, it starts by helping themselves this weekend by beating Alabama. If Alabama wants to be in the SEC championship, and they do, you got to beat Tennessee because you cannot fall to 2 losses. You look at the rest of the conference schedule, the conference standings. Texas A&M is 3-0. Texas and LSU are both 2-0 in the conference, and you got to start getting some of those teams. I mean, if one stays undefeated, it's fine. But really, you're looking at that second spot, Alabama. You got to get some of the, whether it be A&M or LSU, to start taking some conference losses so that Alabama can get back into that number 2 spot all alone. Now, you got the tiebreaker over the Georgia Bulldogs, but the loss to Vanderbilt really puts you behind the 8 ball and puts you in the mix with the rest of the teams with 1 loss. Everybody with 1 loss in the conference: Tennessee, Alabama, Vanderbilt, Arkansas, and Georgia, and Missouri, all are just at 1 loss this year in the conference. So Alabama tied with those teams, and you got to start looking at the other schedules a little bit. But you can't look at the other schedules unless you win the game this weekend against Tennessee, and same thing for Tennessee. So it's a really big, if it wasn't a big game for the rivalry standpoint, it's a huge game as far as the outcome of the rest of the year. And I think that it's going to be a lot of fun. Very high anxiety in Neyland Stadium. High anxiety watching ABC on Saturday if you are planning on tuning in. If you are planning on tuning in, take your medication. Be ready. Don't lose your brain in the first 10 seconds. It's going to be a long day. You remember last year, Tennessee jumps out to a pretty sizable lead, and then Alabama started to dig it away. I can remember friends texting me in the middle of the first quarter last year. Joe, what's going on? Joe, what's happening? What is Alabama doing? XYZ, ABC. And all my Tennessee buddies are, oh, man, we're going to get you again. We're going to get the win streak to 2. Blah, 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 blah. But no, it's a long game. You're going to have a lot of twists and turns in these rivalry games, and especially in this rivalry game. We had a lot of twists and turns last year, and it was Jahad Campbell with the scoop and score touchdown to put Alabama on top for good. And we didn't realize it at the time, but Coach Saban really – oh, man, the twinkle in my eye thinking back to that day. Coach Saban said goodbye to the Alabama Nation that day, in my opinion, because how many times did you see Coach Saban, after a win, run around the entirety of the Bryant-Denny Stadium field, waving at the crowd, waving his cigar, and I think really soaking up that win. I think Coach Saban kind of had it in the back of his mind, this might be my last Alabama-Tennessee game, and really wanting to embrace it. Now, I think that he didn't come to the official decision until several months later. But as the wise man that he is, I think that he knew that was a possibility, so that he knew to enjoy that moment. And last year's game was a roller coaster. Tennessee gets out to a big lead. We just said it. Alabama digs in, gets a bunch of stops, and is able to dig back in and win the game. I believe what was it, Isaiah Bond coming out of the halftime with a big touchdown pass. Isaiah Bond, Texas legend, with a big touchdown pass to open the second half. And then obviously you had Jihad Campbell scoop and score. And Neyland Stadium fell down around itself. Now, like I said, these two teams are in the same spot. Both fan bases are looking at their team, Alabama looking at Alabama's team, thinking, come on, guys, you got to be playing better. There's lots of areas on the Alabama team that are leaving a lot to be desired, particularly on the defensive side of the football, particularly in the physicality department on both sides of the football. But don't worry, Alabama fans. Tennessee fans are in your same boat. They are upset with their own team as well. Not necessarily in running the football, but they can't throw the football down the field. They can't throw the football past the mid-range, past the 10-yard marker, really, consistently. And a lot of it is due to bad pass protection. They go out into the transfer portal. They get Lance Hurd to play right tackle, left tackle, and he's not really doing great. I guess some of that NIL money, it doesn't always work out. It doesn't always mean that you're going to get a great player. It hasn't translated quite well for Lance Hurd and the Tennessee Vols. They've incurred a lot of holding penalties. Nico has been under fire a lot, both Florida and Arkansas, getting after Tennessee, I think, to 3 or 4 sacks apiece. And, of course, Nico throwing the interception against Florida. He was clean against Arkansas as on the turnover department. But really, Tennessee struggling to throw the football. They've got good wide receivers. Brew McCoy and Squirrel White, they can play. They can get open on the outside. They can make some play. And Chris Brazzell, transfer from Tulane, playing kind of in the slot. Going to give some problems for the Alabama secondary. But really, for the Crimson Tide, it's all about getting them into long yardage, getting Tennessee into long yardage. Because while Tennessee's offense has struggled, and it has, and it hasn't looked as elite as it did at the beginning of the year. What did they put up, like 50,000 points against NC State? They beat the brakes off of NC State. What did it? 51-10, 69-3 against Chattanooga, 71-0 against Kent State. And then you start SEC play, 25 points against Oklahoma, only 14 against Arkansas, and 23 against Florida. So you took a significant step back when the competition takes a step up. But Tennessee can still run the bleeping football. And Tennessee can still do the basics. And that's where I think you're in some trouble, Alabama. In some trouble as you enter Neyland Stadium. Tennessee, 7th best rushing attack in the country. 246 yards per game. Dylan Sampson has 699 yards on the ground and 15 touchdowns on the ground, leading the SEC in both categories. This dude is an absolute beast. And when you watch him, you think I think it looks like Alvin Kamara. It looks like Alvin Kamara when he was playing at Tennessee. And I know Alvin Kamara was here in Tuscaloosa first, transfers out to community college, goes to Tennessee. So roll tide for Alvin Kamara. But yeah, he did make his name at Tennessee. And Dylan Sampson looks just like Alvin Kamara, in my opinion. Shifty, explosive, got the jump cut, got the same Alvin Kamara jump cut. Now, they're not using him in the passing game nearly as much as Alvin Kamara is used in the passing game now at the professional level, but he is a load to bring down. He is shorter, he's on the shorter end. He's hiding behind the offensive line. He's popping through tackle, or he's popping through holes, and he's exploding for big yardage. And he's taking 20 carries or more in every single game this year. 20 carries or more in every single game this year. He scored multiple touchdowns in every game except for one. And really, when you think about Alabama's defense, oh my goodness gracious, Alabama's defense has really done a great job at creating havoc plays, sacks, tackles for a loss, turnovers. Well, a really good job. Maybe great is overselling it. A really good job. But as far as consistency, down in and down out, just like the offensive side of the ball, really have struggled finding the consistency, and that's what allowed Vanderbilt to really grind Alabama out. Vanderbilt stayed consistent, trying to get only 3 to 5 yards, not really trying to take too many big shots and big chunks and too many big risks. So Vanderbilt stayed within themselves, and Alabama could not create the havoc plays because Vanderbilt didn't really try to take too many risks. And Vanderbilt's fundamentals and consistency ended up grinding you down to 42 minutes on the clock. And, oh, my gosh, one of the worst losses in Alabama history. No, same sort of thing last week against South Carolina. South Carolina has a big 16-play drive to open the second half, 5 third downs in a row where they convert. And all these third downs are third and shorts. I mean, pretty much all of them are third and shorts. You got to play better defense down in and down out, and it starts on first down. Because Dylan Sampson, if you allow him to be the metronome for Tennessee, if you allow him to be the pace setter, now they will use him as far as we're going fast, here's a quick handoff to Dylan Sampson right at the gut, or we are going really, really slow. Josh Heupel does a beautiful job manipulating tempo. I think we all think of Tennessee as a fast-paced team, and they certainly are capable of being a fast-paced team, and when they choose to do that, goodness gracious, there's almost nobody faster in the country. But Josh does a really, really, really effective job using the tempo, slowing down and then speeding you up, slowing down, speeding you up, lulling you into sense of security. Okay, you've got the rhythm, and then bam, we're going to go fast. We're going to get you going, and you're not quite ready for it. You got to be on your toes at all times playing Tennessee. And Dylan Sampson is really the reason why, because Nico Iamaleava, the Tennessee quarterback, gets all the headlines, and he's gotten all the attention. Obviously, the big NIL deal coming out of high school, $8 million, and the PJ pants. He's really flashy with his PJ pants, and the dude is super talented. Really, really talented. Really, really athletic. But the last couple of weeks, he's struggled throwing the football down the field. I think everyone automatically goes to Nico Iamaleava because his name is fun to say and because of all the money that he made. But really, the true engine for the Tennessee offense is Dylan Sampson. They use him like a boxer uses his jab. I'm just going to jab you all night long, and I'm going to bop you in the nose, bop you in the nose, bop you in the nose, and yeah, I might bop you in the nose for 3 yards about 7 different times, but on the 8th time, that bop in the nose might break your nose for a 50-yard play. Dylan Sampson busting wide open against Arkansas and against Florida. Like, it's just a consistency factor where they're just giving it to you. We're going to be in your face, a boxer right in your face, giving you the jab, nose, bop on the nose, bop on the nose, bop on the nose. You can't take it. You can't take it. And eventually you break. And so I'm concerned about Alabama and its running defense, especially when it comes to tackling. If you've listened to the show at any portion of the time, but particularly in the last 2.5 weeks, I've been really, really unhappy with Alabama's ability to tackle. You've got a lot of run after contact, yards after contact, and I think that Dylan Sampson looks like a guy who can just replicate those problems. Cedric Johnson did it for you for Vanderbilt. You had Rocket Sanders doing it for you for Arkansas. You had 3 different Wisconsin running backs combined for good days, as a collective, and then Trevor Etienne having a pretty decent day as Georgia was trying to manufacture a comeback and not even really using the run game. So I'm concerned. That's my biggest concern. How will Alabama stand up against Dylan Sampson? Will you just decide that, hey, we're going to load the box? We're going to – you can't load the box with Tennessee because of the width, because of their formational alignment. You're going to have corners split sideline to sideline. You're going to have to put some safeties deeper than you'd like. And so it becomes – Tim Smith, Tim Keenan, Jamarian Latham, Jahad Campbell, Deontay Lawson, and Quay Russaw. It becomes your 6 responsibility. Is that 6? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, it becomes your 6 responsibility. 6 versus 5. 6 offensive linemen and the running back. So 6 on 6, guys. 6 on 6 is what it becomes. Now, the issue for Alabama is if you are succeeding 6 on 6, you're slowing down Dylan Sampson. You are winning your blocks. Then the wrinkle comes that I think is inevitable for Alabama or for Tennessee. Nico is a really good athlete. He's a really good athlete, and while he has struggled throwing the football down the field, Alabama has really, really struggled badly all year long in quarterback run situations, whether it be scrambles, broken plays, extended plays. Excuse me, as I get caught up here, whether it be in extended plays or scrambles or design quarterback runs, whether it be draws or quarterback reads or sprint options, just different things. You've seen Diego Pavia, you saw Lenore Sellers, you've seen everybody get after you in the run game. Byron Brown has got after you in the quarterback run game. Now, Western Kentucky was deficient, didn't have a quarterback, an athletic quarterback capable of doing that. And Carson Beck wasn't really trying to do that for Georgia. But when he did get into the quarterback run game, effective for Georgia, I think, Nico, you're going to start to get a beat on Dylan Sampson, and they're going to mix in just the extra layer of Nico Keeper on the quarterback read, Nico Keeper on sprint option, on a speed option, just different things like that. And I think that's going to create a lot of problems for Alabama as they struggle with their responsibilities in the run game. They struggle to fit their responsibilities in the run game. I think that's going to be the biggest wrinkle that Tennessee will use. Now, the wrinkle that they haven't shown at all but is guaranteed to come out, I'll bet you $1 million that Tennessee runs a shovel pass on Saturday. I will bet you. Now, obviously, the 3 people who are watching this show or the 4 people who are listening to this show, I don't have $1 million to wager. I'm sorry. This is a little facetious, but it's about as sure as a bet as you can have that Tennessee will run some variation of a shovel pass on Saturday. Why? Because Vanderbilt ripped you up the gut twice for it. In key down situations. South Carolina held on to it the entire game and rips you right up the gut on a 3rd and short situation. You bet your bottom dollar Tennessee has implemented, if they didn't already have one, they've implemented a shovel pass on Saturday. And you'll see it on Saturday at some point, probably on a 3rd down, probably on a 3rd and 6, 3rd and 4, maybe 4th and 2. It's going to be a critical situation. And we'll see. Alabama, have you passed the test? Have you figured out the errors in the shovel pass defense? I don't have a whole lot of confidence. Do you? You can let me know your confidence level in the comments section at Joe Gaither 6 if you think that Alabama will do a decent job stopping the shovel pass. All right, we're talking about Tennessee. We're having a lot of fun here on the Joe Gaither Show. I want to put a pause real quick and tell you about our friends at Druid City Music Hall. Next tonight, you got Chase Matthew down there on the Strip. Next Thursday, Alex Warren. You've got Maddox Baston next Friday. And then you coming up next Saturday, November the 2nd, Ashley Cook. I do know her. She's a pretty famous up-and-coming country music singer. So get your tickets right now for Ashley Cook, Saturday, November the 2nd at Druid City Music Hall. .com/shows. Druid City Music Hall is the premier place for live music on the Strip. We appreciate Druid City Music Hall for being a part of the program, and we love getting down to the Strip and seeing all kinds of great concerts at Druid City Music Hall. All right, we're keeping it going here on the Joe Gaither Show, talking Alabama, Tennessee, 3rd Saturday in October. We'll talk about Kalen DeBoer and what we expect out of him in just a little bit. But let's keep it going on what we have seen out of Tennessee. Against Arkansas and a couple times against Florida, Tennessee showed vulnerability in their for their defensive side of the football with letting Taylon Green and Arkansas get down the field in the vertical passing game. That should make you Alabama fans salivate. Why? My man Jalen Milroe, that's his number one asset. Jalen Milroe in the vertical passing game, still Alabama's pretty much bread and butter. Breaking guys wide open. His deep touch is very, very good. Very, very fun to watch. Now he's developed in other areas, but I think that Alabama will have opportunities to get down the field. Now, you didn't get Ryan Williams into the end zone last week. You will get Kobe Prentice probably back. You'll get Kendrick Law probably back as well this weekend, and I think that's going to be very, very helpful for Alabama's offense. But all this to say, I think I'm starting to feel some bad trends for Alabama, just a little bit of bad trend offensively kind of creeped up this week. Now, a lot of it was because of South Carolina's proficient defensive front really making things challenging for Alabama, particularly in the run game. But I'm starting to see, without the semblance of a true running game with Jam Miller and Justice Haynes, without the semblance of an inside the tackles running game, Jalen Miller has had a lot of pressure on him, particularly the last 2 weeks at Vanderbilt and this last week against South Carolina. A lot of pressure. Now, you've had, 4 turnovers in the last 2 weeks? I mean, you beat South Carolina, great, and offensively against Vanderbilt, you were pretty good, really, outside of the turnovers. But I wonder if Jalen, now at 4, 5, 6, 7 games, we're at 7 now, but in the 5th and 6th game, you're starting to feel like defenses are figuring you out offensively, and it's basically Jalen Milroe superstar or bust. Obviously, you had Joe. We just mentioned it. Ryan Williams did not get into the end zone this past week for the first time in his Alabama career. And I'm not sitting there sounding the alarms, but you had a couple of misses. Jalen Milroe throwing some deep shots down the field to Ryan Williams, and a couple of misses. And look, misses happen. We're not going to sit here and think that Jalen Milroe is a robot, especially down the field. That's why it's such a proficient weapon. Even at the highest level, you're having misses week in and week out on deep balls. But I just wonder if Jalen's feeling, this is not insight. This is just a feel. This is just a perception. I just wonder if Jalen Milroe is feeling a little bit of pressure of having to do it all in the running game and in the passing game, having to be perfect in the passing game and having to pick the perfect holes in the running game, moving Alabama's offense. And I just wonder if that pressure is just starting to build up just a little bit. And if it is starting to build up just a little bit, I really am wondering who's going to step up for the Alabama offense, who's going to help Jalen Milroe, who's going to relieve some of that pressure. Obviously, Ryan is the easy answer, but I think you've got to get Jamin Justice. I've been hammering this point. I know you guys are tired of hearing it. You got to get Jamin Justice involved in the traditional running game. You got to get more than 15 collective carries. Those two jokers got to get 25 carries. As a group, those two, whether it's 25 and 5, or whether it's 20 and 5, whatever the case may be, math is not my strong suit, as you can see. But those two jokers got to get themselves. You want 30 touches between the two of them. We've been sitting here talking about Dylan Sampson and how dangerous he is. One thing that Tennessee does that I'd love to see Alabama implement. Now they can do this with a little bit because they can be more patient. Their defense is better than Alabama's. If Dylan Sampson's getting only 3 yards at a couple, they're giving Sampson the rock over and over and over and over and over again, and eventually he's starting to break free. You get into the later parts of the game, and Sampson's starting to really wear down the other defenses. It doesn't happen for Alabama when you're only given, I think these two guys last week only had 12, 15 carries as a collective. You got to ramp that up by 10. You got to ramp that up by 15. You just got to make this a part of your offense because it's just going to help Jalen get better. It's just going to relieve pressure in the passing game. And I think there's going to be an aspect this week that's going to help that, and that's Kendrick Law. Kendrick Law coming back. Kendrick Law has been out since a hit midway through the Georgia game. I think it was on one of those trick plays that I absolutely hated. But Kendrick Law is probably going to be coming back this week for Alabama, and the Crimson Tide, you need him. You need him back, and you think, Joe, he's only got like 2 catches the whole year. You don't need him. You're not missing him. Yes, you are. You're missing Kendrick Law not because of his receptions. I believe it is only 2 receptions. Kendrick Law stats, only 2 receptions with 1 touchdown, right? Is that what I have? 4 games, 2 receptions, 41 yards, and 1 touchdown. Right. 2 carries, 6 yards. You say that's not a superstar. And I say, yeah, you're right. That guy's not important to the Alabama offense, but wait, he is. He's vital to the Alabama offense. And the reason is because he can do everything. He can run routes at a proficient level. He can run routes, almost as good as anybody on this team. I might put Jeremy Bernard above him, but he can run routes as proficiently as anyone on this team. He can block as proficiently as any skill position player, whether it be a tight end, running back, wide receiver, doesn't matter. He's your best skill position blocker on the team, period, bar none. He's the most physical blocker on the team. And when you have him on the field, then you start to really manipulate defenses. Right now, the last couple of weeks while he's been off, you're kind of understanding when certain personnel packages are in, Alabama's passing. When certain personnel packages are in, Alabama's running. If you're able to pick up on tendencies, you're starting to see some patterns. But Kendrick Law allows you to defy the patterns. Because Kendrick Law can be played as an H-back. Kendrick Law can be played almost in any tight end slot. Maybe not. Maybe you wouldn't put him on the line, but off the line, right in the backfield, you can use him. Kendrick Law can be used in the backfield. You want to handle the football as a running back, you can do it. You want to swing him out wide from the running back position, get him into the passing game concept out of the backfield, you can do it. You want to get him a jet sweep, you can do it. You want to get him a pop pass, you can do it. Kendrick Law is the amoeba, per se. He's the iguana. He can change his colors depending on whatever you want to do. And because of that, it slows down the opposing defensive coordinators from reading what Alabama's going to do. And so getting him back, I think, is going to be a huge key in Alabama developing its running game, its traditional running game, the part of the game that we've been really, really complaining about over the last 3 weeks. I think getting him back is going to be huge in that. I'm really excited. Whether he gets a single reception or a single touch in the game, it's what he does for you personnel-wise. It's the ability to you can get out of 12 a little bit. And I love 12 personnel with 2 tight ends. I do love it. But you can get out of 12 a little bit. Look, we're not calling guys out by names because they're all great football players. But you can leave Dupree on the field. You take Cuevas or Robbie Oots off the field. And while you I love Robbie Oots. He's a great football player. And Cuevas has been a really nice addition. But you take those off the field. You put Kendrick Law back on the field. And now you don't know, is Alabama really in 12 and Kendrick Law is a pseudo tight end because he's a bad mother bleeper as a tight end? Or is Alabama really in 11? Alabama really trying to throw the football? It puts defenses in a bind. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing Alabama be able to put those defenses in a bind again. All right, we're hanging out here in the Derek Daniel State Farm studio right here off of McFarland Boulevard. You can call Derek Daniel and his team, 205-758-3391, for all of your insurance needs. Like a good neighbor, Derek Daniel and State Farm is there. Call and see how much Derek can save you today. All right, we're keeping it going right here, talking and previewing the Tennessee Vols. And my next note is, how will Kalen DeBoer handle the noise, and will DeBoer smoke if Bama wins? We'll hit those 2 topics, and then we'll do 3 players to watch, and then we'll close this bad boy out on a Thursday afternoon evening. We appreciate everybody who's been tuning in to the double episode today, and we apologize to everybody for being behind on a Monday, trying to squeeze it in right here before the 3rd Saturday in October. Kalen DeBoer, first year right here in Tuscaloosa, already experienced the Alabama-Georgia week. But if you paid attention at the beginning of the show, I personally, and many of you, might value the Alabama-Tennessee game a bit more. And the environment here in Tuscaloosa for the Alabama-Georgia game was electric. It was incredible. It was so much fun to be there. And being down on the field as Ryan Williams is becoming a hero, was a moment I'll never forget. Reese Davis's face, shock face. If you're watching us on YouTube, it looked like this. It was great. It was incredible. But now you're going to Neyland Stadium. A different kind of noise. The noise is not going to be for you, Coach DeBoer. And yeah, you coached at Oregon before. Autzen Stadium is known to be very, very loud out there in Oregon. But Tennessee is just a different level. Now, granted, this is a little bit of bias based on my own experience, based on the limited experience that I have. I haven't been in every college football stadium across the country. I've been in a very small percentage. We'll just be honest with you. We've been in a good handful, enough to brag about, but not enough to say we've been everywhere, man. But Tennessee is a place that it's a scary place for a visitor. It's an intimidating environment for a visitor. I have often complained about Tennessee being the fan base being the worst winners in the SEC. Man, it's a scary place, and I think that the Alabama faithful are going to have to be hunkered down. I know that you heard all the same stuff this week. Oh, the crowd noise shouldn't affect you. Crowd noise shouldn't be this, that, and the other. And you're not going to have the crowd noise when Alabama's on defense. Deontay Lawson will be able to communicate out the plays to the rest of the defense. But you feel it in your feet in the stands. I don't know if you've ever been to a sporting event where the crowd noise vibrates through the stands in your feet. That's my experience. That has been my consistent experience in Neyland Stadium. And after 2 years ago, pulling off the big-time upset, breaking the 15-year streak, it was a wild event. And I expect Saturday night to be a wild event again. I think that DeBoer is going to be – I think he's going to be okay. I do. Put my feet to the fire. I think he will be okay. But it will be an aspect that I'm wondering about. It will be an aspect that I'm curious about. Will the environment rattle not only Coach Kalen DeBoer, but the entire coaching staff that's never been in Neyland Stadium? You got Nick Sheridan, who was a GA for Tennessee for 3 years. So he's familiar with Neyland. But I just wonder if everybody is ready for it is. If you ever think you can feel sound, when you're walking through you're walking somewhere and there's gas in the air and you can kind of feel it in your eyes. That's how it is. Their sound is that intense. You can just feel it. It's like a heavy atmosphere. And so Neyland Stadium is not going to be a friendly place on Saturday night. So I'm very curious to see how Alabama is going to deal with that environment. I mean, Wisconsin was cool, but the team was just not very talented. And Wisconsin, they were much more party loud. They were much more celebratory loud rather than hostile loud. Wisconsin was very welcoming. To me personally, they seemed like they were welcoming to all the Alabama fans. That's really your only big road game of the year. I mean, the Vanderbilt game, you had 90% Alabama people in the stadium for that upset. And so it's going to be a really big challenge for Alabama to deal with the noise in Neyland Stadium. Now, last little ancillary topic before we get into 3 players to watch. And it's the cigars. Hope you guys, if you are a cigar enjoyer or if you are a one-time per year cigar enjoyer, that you enjoy it responsibly this weekend if Alabama wins so that you can do that. And if you're a Tennessee fan watching this, I hope that you can enjoy it responsibly if Tennessee wins. I won't be smoking a cigar, just to make my stomach sick. This will turn me over just a little bit. So I won't be smoking, win or lose for Alabama. I don't think Kalen DeBoer is going to be smoking. You can let me know if you'll be smoking a cigar in my comments at Joe Gaither 6. If you've got a special cigar picked out, I know that will be a feature on Reagan Starner and R&R cigars. That is as it is a huge part of the tradition. But look, enjoy it responsibly. I don't think Coach DeBoer is going to be smoking. If a man is not cursing on the sidelines in football, that's not a one-to-one comparison. It's not a one-to-one ratio, but I just think that he's not going to be that type. Coach Saban used to chew on the cigars here and there, but I think Kalen DeBoer might do the same. Just twirl it around, stick it behind his ear, and enjoy watching his players celebrate if they win. So that'll be interesting to watch. How will Kalen DeBoer embrace the cigar tradition? All right, before we get out of here on the day, we're gonna have our 3 players to watch for the week. But we want to tell you about the most reliable residential roof replacement company in Alabama and Mississippi, Purple Turtle Roofing. Whether it's addressing leaks, storm damage, or general wear and tear, Purple Turtle Roofing is going to be there to deliver exceptional roof repair for your property. Purple Turtle Roofing is the leading expert in local residential roofing solutions, specializing in providing unparalleled service and quality craftsmanship for all your roof replacement needs. Call Dustin Foley and his team today at 877-PT-ROOF-5 for your free roof inspection. That's 877-787-6635 to schedule your appointment, and one of their qualified employees will come check out your roof for free and make sure you're prepared for any and all of life's storms. You can check them out online today at roofturtle.com. We appreciate Dustin Foley and his team sponsoring the Joe Gaither Show. Let's wrap this bad boy up. Let's have a lot of fun. We're going to set up a Football Friday tomorrow. I might be having a Tennessee reporter from Tennessee Volunteers on SI joining us tomorrow. That might be fun. A little behind enemy lines. We'll get to know the enemy tomorrow. That would be a lot of fun. I would really, really enjoy that if it works out. I'm in a little bit of text back and forth with a Tennessee reporter. I would really, really enjoy doing that. I encourage you guys to tune in tomorrow for Football Friday. 3 players to watch. Let's go ahead and do it. We've done it each and every week to varying degrees of success. Last week for the South Carolina game, our 3 players were Malachi Moore, Elijah Pritchett, and Jam Miller. How do we do? How do you grade that? Malachi's stat sheet was pretty nice, was pretty decent, was pretty full, but Malachi was the reason, sorry, Malachi, we're just telling the truth, was the reason that you busted the 4th and 9 that allowed South Carolina to start their kind of pseudo comeback. 36-yard touchdown pass for Lenore Sellers on 4th and 9. Malachi Moore busts. Now, does one bad play make a big enough negative to say that it erases the good plays? Not really, but we are going to be tough on ourselves. We're going to be tough on ourselves because we're actually grading us, not the players, and our ability to select. So minus. We're going to say no for Malachi Moore. That's a miss for Joe last week. Now, also, Jam Miller had himself, 40-something yards. we'll say a minus as well, because the whole rushing game, just not a really good day. And we had Elijah Pritchett. Elijah Pritchett held up okay. I guess it depends on really your standards for tackles against these elite pass rushers that were Dylan Stewart and Kyle Kennard. I think it was about a wash. So because it's about a wash, maybe I'll give myself Elijah Pritchett, but I'm not giving myself Malachi Moore or Jam Miller. Those are two misses for us, Joe. So come on. Did a bad job the last 2 weeks against Vanderbilt and South Carolina. This time it's against Tennessee, and I've got three players. We're going to the lowest rung here. We're not going Jalen Milroe because that is, well, we're not going to the lowest rung because that'd be Jalen Milroe. We're going to the second lowest rung on this tree, and we're taking Ryan Williams as one of our three players of the week. You say, oh, Joe, be more creative than that. Well, Ryan Williams had his first game without a touchdown last week. The 17-year-old child has been in the end zone each of Alabama's first 5 games. And I predict against Tennessee with so many deep shots to be had, it's Ryan Williams, the child, once again, the prodigy, having a stellar game for Alabama. So he's going to be one of my 3 players to watch. We have not selected Ryan Williams, just to make it clear. We haven't selected Ryan one single time this whole year just because I have felt like it's too easy. But we need a win. We need a win on the Joe Gaither Show. So we're going we're going to a safe bucket, and we're taking Ryan Williams as pick number 1. Pick number 2, oh man, I don't feel good about it because of how the inside linebackers have played this year. And we've gone back and forth most of the year between Jihad or Deontay. I'm taking Deontay Lawson this week. We did not take an inside backer last week. We took Jihad 2 weeks ago against Vanderbilt. You're going to have a big game, Deontay Lawson. You have to have a solid game because your matchup, Dylan Sampson against Deontay Lawson, is probably going to decide the game. You can say, Joe, that's an oversimplification. And I would say, yeah, I know. I hate oversimplifying things. I really like depth and nuance. But I think that might decide the game. Deontay Lawson and Dylan Sampson. Who wins that matchup? So Deontay Lawson, because of that, you become player number 2. Player number 3 is Quay Russaw. Quay Russaw, the Wolf, has been on a pitch count over the last couple of weeks since his injury up at Wisconsin. And really has played well in the time that he's been able to get into the games. Obviously, forcing the fumble on Carson Beck. Didn't play the last 2 weeks as much. Played some. Got some stats. I think that I'm just going to take your word for it, Kane Womack. I'm taking Kane Womack's word. On Monday, he says that really Quay is as healthy as he's been in a while, and he thinks the pitch count is coming off. Thinks that Quay, you're going to have to get in the backfield for a big-time havoc play on Nico Iamaleava. Whether Dylan Sampson is doing his thing from the running back position or not, you're going to have to get a turnover or 2 from the Alabama defense. And a sack fumble from Quay Russaw sounds about right. So those are our 3 players for the game. Ryan Williams, Deontay Lawson, and Quay Russaw. You can let us know yourself, your 3 players of the game, in the comments section at Joe Gaither6 on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. Or you can find me on Instagram, Snapchat, really any of your favorite social media machines. TikTok, it is at Joe Gaither6. And we appreciate each and everybody who is joining us right there, or who's leaving us a comment on Spotify, leaving us a comment on Apple Podcasts. We appreciate that as well. It's going to do it for our show today. We did a double show. We did an episode on Alabama basketball kicking off its season, and we have just done our episode on the Tennessee Vols. We'll expound on the Tennessee Vols tomorrow with Football Friday. We'll have Katie Wyndham at 11 a.m. tomorrow. We'll try to see if we'll have Hunter DeCiver and Will Miller, and we'll see if we can't pull a Tennessee Volunteers reporter into the mix for our Football Friday fun. We want to thank Derek Daniel and State Farm for putting us on each and every day. You can find him right here in Northport. Derek Daniel, like a good neighbor, Derek Daniel and State Farm is there. Call him at 205-758-3391. Call and see how much Derek can save you today. We also appreciate Purple Turtle Roofing and, of course, Druid City Music Hall for sponsoring the program. We'll get out of here for the day, and we'll bring you Football Friday right here on the Joe Gaither Show tomorrow on BamaCentral and BamaCentral.com.
Thanks for joining us on today's edition of the Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral. Keep up with Joe on all his social media pages at Joe Gaither6. Subscribe, rate, and review the show on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and be sure to read us daily at BamaCentral.com.